Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Bible study, My Brother the King. We are finished with the study. Thank you so much for your attention and your patience, and I hope that this is something that has encouraged you, that you can reach back to for more encouragement later, and that you can go back through the discussion questions. You can go to my website to order the Bible study. It's under the book tab of jubileelipsy.com. But today we are finishing up with the epilogue, which is chapter 9, and this is talking about Prince Jonathan's son. And I mean, just as we're going further and further into this story, I just feel like we find more and more application for ourselves. And there's so much. I mean, Jonathan and David are larger than life characters, even though they were real. They seem larger than life. And yet Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, who I nicknamed Mephi in my novel, My Father the King, which is about his story. Mephi is sort of, I don't know, he's more relatable, and his story more closely parallels what Christ did for us as believers, as Christians. Once we are saved, what we're accepting and what we're being a part of and invited into is very similar to what Jonathan and David did for Mephi. So that's what I want to talk about with this chapter. On page 239, it says, "As sons and daughters of the faith, ambassadors of an expansive, earth-shaking heavenly kingdom that encompasses generations, we were meant to carve a path with our lives for our descendants to follow. And this doesn't happen simply by hoping for the best." Jonathan's story didn't end with his death, and that is probably the truest mark of a hero. A lot of times we base the success or failure of our faithfulness to God on how the outcome went in our lifetime. Did we get what we wanted? But what we want and what we ask God for and our expectations are not always what God has promised us. Jonathan wanted a lot of things that he didn't live to see, that weren't promised to him. But what was promised was God's faithfulness to David and Israel with David as king. And that was what Jonathan knew was the will of God. So regardless of what happened in his natural life and what he got to enjoy or didn't get to enjoy, he wasn't just partnering with David as a friend to save his own skin. He saw that King Saul, his father, was dragging the family down with the curse of disobedience. And he said, "No, I am drawing a line in the sand and I'm taking my family in a different direction." He's stuck with his responsibility to Saul as the prince and his responsibility to fight for Israel until his dying breath. But all the while he was hoping to make it to David's kingship, but he established a legacy of faithfulness that his son would benefit from. And Mephi ended up being the only one of Saul's descendants that did not fall under the curse of disobedience and ultimately lose their lives, either, through murder or official war. Mephi was the only one who was protected by that legacy. David reached down into the ash heap. Mephi was 5 years old when Jonathan died, and in the chaos of the Philistines taking over for a season until David could conquer them and become king, Mephi fell while he was escaping and became crippled. He became lame. And in that season, in that part of history, there weren't really a lot of options for disabled people. And so Mephi grew up in hiding and an orphan and lame, and he was despised and rejected until David looked for him for Jonathan's sake, clothed him as a prince, and lifted him up to his side to be like one of his sons. And he did that for Jonathan's sake because he saw the image of Jonathan in his son. God has done the same thing for us through Jesus. Jesus reached down into the ash heap of our sin and lifted us out of it and clothed us as his son, the sons and daughters of God. It is only through Jesus that we can take hold of the inheritance of God in the kingdom of God. And the great thing is that in Jesus, we do not have to live by the old sinful patterns of our past, whether it was our family's past or our past. We can live differently. We can live victoriously. We can take hold of a redemptive legacy because of Jesus. So Jesus is our David. Jesus is our Jonathan, the one who lifts us up into the inheritance we could not take back for ourselves. We lost it. and we couldn't take it back for ourselves, but Jesus helped us do it. And so that's what I want to leave you with, that everything we've been talking about in this book and throughout this book, world-changing friendship, effectiveness in calling, and undying legacy, it all begins with a headlong pursuit of God. Because of Jesus and the life we've been given in him, we can abound in hope and live by new patterns, victorious patterns. We can go after our calling and know that we are successful, not based on what we're seeing in the natural, but because we are looking to what is unseen and eternal. As it says in 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18, we do not lose heart. Though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this slight momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. And that was what Jonathan was looking towards, and that is why he was able to align himself with David and reap the benefits of that friendship, why he was able to see his calling as something beyond just being a ruler, being a prince of Israel, and I have to hold on to that and kill anyone that gets in my way. That was how Saul looked at it, but Jonathan looked beyond that and saw that his calling was to serve the Lord, whether as a prince or as a friend of David or a warrior or laying down his life, but whether by life or by death, he served the Lord. And because we know Jesus, we can take it even a step further. And we are continually equipped by his Spirit to be effective in these things. So I hope this has been an encouragement to you. Definitely dive deeper into the scriptures themselves for more insight about this. And I hope you will look back at the other videos and continue to be inspired and encouraged. I'll see you next time.